Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to show you how to calculate the area of figures in 2 dimensions. So 2 dimensions just means flat figures. Our next skill, skill 13, is going to be area in 3 dimensions. So that's going to be surface area of like prisms and cones and spheres and things. Anyway, today we're just going to do our simple flat shapes, and we're also going to do something called composite shapes. And composite shapes or compound shapes is when you take multiple shapes and stick them together or cut out pieces of shapes, that sort of thing. Anyway, let's go through our basic formulas. So our rectangle is length times width. So our first example here, A, the area of this rectangle is our length times our width. And I'm going to use these brackets for multiplication quite a bit. I find that a little bit easier. So 12 times 7 would be our area for multiplying just the numbers. But keep in mind that these are actually both meters. So this is 12 meters times 7 meters, which means when you multiply 12 by 7, you get 84. But remember, you're also multiplying meters by meters. And meters times meters gives you meters squared. And in general, you always need these things to match. So these have to be the same units, right? You can't just multiply meters by centimeters. You want meters squared, so you need meters times meters. And then whatever units you multiply by are going to be the units squared of your area in the last step. So B, our next example is a circle. So let's do our circle area formula. So the circle formula is pi r squared. And for this course, we're going to use that pi is 3.14. Not sure why that zoomed in there, but whatever. Okay, so using pi equals 3.14, the area of our circle is A equals pi r squared. So A equals 3.14 times our radius. Now, a radius is halfway across a circle. And in this case, that's exactly what we have. We have halfway across our circle is 8 meters is what we're given. So this means that 8 meters squared is our radius. Now, I've shown the meters here because I wanted to highlight to you guys that you're going to have meters squared in your final answer. Usually, though, you wouldn't actually put the meters in. You just know that because we have meters in our question, our final answer is going to be in meters squared. So 8 squared, 8 times 8 is 64. If you put 64 times pi in your calculator times 3.14, you get 200.96. Now this question doesn't clarify, but if we wanted to round this to the nearest tenth, this is actually a really tricky one to round, which is why I want to show you guys how to round this one. The 6 means that we need to round 9 up. But you can't really 9 up. 9 is the biggest number that fits in a single digit. So to round this tenth to the nearest tenth, we need to round the 9 up to 0.0, which means that we need to round the previous digit up as well to 1. So to the nearest tenth, this is 201.0 meters squared. Okay, let's do our triangle. Our triangle is our next example. So our triangle is essentially the rectangle formula, length times width, just it's divided by 2 at the end. So the area of the triangle is base times height divided by 2. In this case, our base is 20. Now you could do 20 meters, but as I said in our last example, we know that our final answer is going to be in meters squared, so why bother writing it in every step, right? So we're just going to do 20 times 10 divided by 2. 20 times 10 is 200. 200 divided by 2 is 100 square meters. Now D, there is actually a formula for this type of shape, but you actually don't need the formula for it. All that you can do is just split this into 2 triangles, right? And those 2 triangles are both 3.5 meters for the base, and they're both 5 meters tall. And so the area of this is going to be our base times our height divided by 2 for our triangle. And then we're going to take this base times height divided by 2, and we are going to double it because we actually have 2 triangles, right? 2 of them. And Multiplying by 2, dividing by 2 is a little bit silly. You don't need to multiply by 2 if you're just going to divide by 2. So let's just make this base times our height. And actually, that is the formula for this type of shape, this trapezoid. So our area is going to be 3.5 times 5. And 3.5 times 5 is 17.5. And as always, don't forget your units, meters squared. All right, so those are your basic shapes. Hopefully you remember those from middle school, but if not, it's not that crazy. You're just going to have 1 or 2 numbers you plug into a formula and just go through your steps on your calculator one at a time. One thing I realized I forgot to emphasize, in this one here in particular, according to order of operations, you need to do your radius squared first. Then multiply by 3.14. Right? And that's because of your order of operations bed mass. So bed mass says that you do your exponents before you do your division multiplication. Okay? And for this one, for rectangles and triangles, it doesn't matter because they're all just division multiplication. So I guess theoretically with the triangle, you could divide by 2 first. But it doesn't matter. Okay, let's try an actual word problem where we need to do, put a couple pieces together. Don't know why that messed up. Okay, here we go. So the town of Milk River is planning a water fountain for its public park. It is to be rectangular with dimensions 22.5 feet by 18 feet. In the middle of the fountain will be a circular area filled with plants and a statue of the founding mayor. He's pretty proud of himself, I guess. The radius of the circular planter is 7 feet. What is the area of the fountain that will be filled with water, right? So the water, right, is going to be this part. That's my attempt at drawing water. This is going to be the water part of the fountain, right? So what we're going to want to do, our strategy for this is we're going to do our rectangle area. And from the rectangle area, we are going to take away our circle area. So let's do each of these in parts. So the area of our rectangle is going to be length times width. 22.5 times 18. Plug that into a calculator and you get it is 405. And since it's feet and feet, it's feet squared. Now the area of our circle is going to be pi r squared, which is 3.14 times our radius squared. 7 squared is 49. 49 times 3.14 gives us, in your calculator, 153.86 square feet. So now what we need to do is we need to do our rectangle is 405 square feet. And we are going to subtract. We're going to subtract our circle. So we're subtracting 153.86 square feet. And that gives us our final area is, if you put into your calculator correctly, you get 251.14. Now let's say the question wanted us to round to the nearest tenth. In this case, rounding to the nearest tenth is nice and easy. That's 251.1 because the 4 we round down. Feet squared. Don't forget your units, as always. Okay, so that's if your units are the same. Sometimes though you've got mixed units, and so we're going to handle that right now. Look at the square right here. We've got a meter on this side, and we've got 100 centimeters on this side. And actually, 1 meter is 100 centimeters. It's hard to draw sideways. And 100 centimeters is 1 meter. And so if we actually pick our units to be the same, if we do meters times meter, 1 times 1 is 1 square meter. And if we do 100 centimeters times 100 centimeters, 100 times 100 is 4 zeros, so 10,000 square centimeters. And this actually gives us a conversion factor. We know that 1 square meter is 10,000 square centimeters. Which means that if we want to convert from square centimeters to square meters, we can actually set up and solve a proportion because we have a rate to convert between the two. So we can set up our 10,000 centimeters squared per 1 meter squared equals, now we have square centimeters, so we're going to put square centimeters up top with our number 134,246. And when you cross multiply and divide, you get that x is 13.4246 meters squared. And you can do the same thing backwards. So we can do 10,000 square centimeters per 1 square meter equals, in this case, we have our square meters. So our 6.2 meters squared goes underneath. And when you cross multiply and divide, you get that it's 62,000 centimeters squared. Cool. Okay, one more mixed unit example. This, we're given the area of a square is 144 square inches. So let's see if we can figure out the side length of the square, right? We're asked for the length of one side. So let's just sort of figure this out. If we have x times x, then our area is x squared. So we want a number times itself equaling 144. In this case, right? Because our area is 144. Well, by definition, do you know what the number is, which times itself equals a number? That's the square root. That's the definition of the square root. Root 144 times root 144, right? The square root of a number times the square root of a number is the number. That's what a square root is. So this side here is going to be square root of 144. And square root of 144 is 12 inches. So what is the perimeter in inches? Now, perimeter is just all of the sides added together. So we've got 4 sides in a square, and each side is 12 inches. So in total, it is 48 inches. Now, what is the perimeter in feet? So 12 inches is 1 foot. So this is a 1 foot square. So the perimeter in feet, 4 sides times 1 foot per side is 4 feet. Now you'll notice our units for these, not squared. Why are they not squared? They're not squared because they're lengths, right? It's just a straight length. Our area was a square area because it was inches times inches or feet times feet. But a length is just your inches, just your feet. Okay, let's get into some fun questions. We got 3 composite shapes and then we're done. So the idea of composite shapes or compound shapes, whatever you want to call them, same idea. You're going to get some big shape that is multiple things all sort of stitched together. So this first example, we've got this sort of weird sort of boot shape thing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split this into 2 rectangles and a triangle. And then I can figure out the area of each of these pieces. This is 5 and this is 10. So I can actually find the area of this rectangle. My area is 5 times 10, and 5 times 10 is 50 inches squared. Now, in some of these questions, though, you've got to do a little bit of work. I know that this whole thing is 10 inches, and I'm told that this piece here is 6 inches. So if the whole thing is 10, and we've used up 6 up here, what's left is going to be, so this is 6 inches, what's left is going to be 10 inches minus the 6 inches we've used up. So this piece here is going to be 4 inches. So the reason why I care is that this piece here then is 4 inches. And if this piece here is 7 inches, then my area of this rectangle is 7 times 4 is 28 square inches. Last piece here is the triangle. So my triangle, I'm going to draw out here because I'm running out of space. It's 4 inches tall. But what's this length down here? Well, the whole thing is 15 inches. I've used up 7 inches here, and I've used up 5 inches here. So this piece that's left, the piece that's left is going to be the whole 15 inches minus the 7 inches minus the 5 inches, which is 3 inches left. So the area of our triangle is base of 3 times height of 4 divided by 2. 3 times 4 divided by 2 is 6 square inches. All right, now this next example. This next example is similar. We've got a triangle and we've got a rectangle. And we're given the radius of the circle is 20. But the difference here is the circle is like missing, right? The circle is missing, or the semicircle, I should say, half the circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to take away the area of the half circle. So strategy for this one is going to be rectangle plus triangle minus our semicircle. So let's go through each of these pieces. So if the radius is 20, then the whole height is 40. So our rectangle is 50 wide. And it's going to be, double 20 is 40 centimeters tall. So the area of the rectangle is 40 times 50, 2,000 centimeters squared. Now the area of our triangle is base times height over 2. Now let's figure this out. The base of our triangle, well, the whole thing is 80. And we've used up 50 for the rectangle. So this is 80 minus 50 is 30 centimeters. So our base is 30 and our height is the same 40. Right, that same 40 centimeters is going to be this side. So our base is 30 times our height of 40 divided by 2 is 600 square centimeters. Now our semicircle. So the area of the full circle is pi r squared, which is 3.14, and our radius was given is 20 squared. So 20 squared is 400. 400 times pi times 3.14 is 1256 centimeters squared. And we only want half of that because it is a semicircle. So we need to divide by 2. And when we divide by 2, we get that the area of the semicircle is 628 centimeters squared. Whew. So let's put all those pieces together. Oops. So when we put all those pieces together, we're going to get that the area of our rectangle is 2,000 plus our triangle is 600 minus our semicircle is minus 628. When you put all those three pieces together, you get 772 centimeters squared. Hi everyone. After I posted this, a student pointed out that I made a mistake in this question, so thank you to that student for correcting me. I made a mistake when I did this originally. I subtracted 600, so this should not be 772. It should be 1972. So sorry about that, and now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Okay, one more example. Hope you're pausing to take breaks as you need to as you're going through this. So, a 16-inch pizza. First of all, a 16-inch pizza means that it's 16 inches across. And for, oops, don't know what happened there. For circles, you want radius. And radius is half of the full circle. So if your whole circle is 16, then your radius is going to be half of 16, which is 8 inches. So my radius is 8 inches. Now this question says the pizza is divided into 12 slices. If you eat 5 slices of pizza, what total area of pizza did you eat? So we're going to take our area of the full circle. We're going to divide it by 12 to get the area of a slice. And then you eat 5 slices. So we are going to multiply by 5 in the end. That's our strategy. Get the area of the whole pizza, divide by 12 to get the area of a slice, and then multiply by the number of slices you ate. So the area of our first full circle is 3.14 times our radius squared. 8 squared is 64. So 64 times pi is 200.96 square inches of pizza. So then the area of a slice, we are going to divide that number by 12. And so the area of our slice is, when you divide that by 12, you get 16.746666 and so on. I know about rounding. I'm not going to round this. I'm just going to keep this in my calculator display. I'm just going to round in the very last step to make sure that I'm rounding accurately and correctly. Because our next thing, we need the area of 5 slices. It's a 5, not an S. So the area of 5 slices, we are going to multiply by 5. And when you multiply that number by 5, you get 83.7333 and so on, which rounded to the nearest tenth is your final answer. The area of 5 slices is 83.7 square inches of pizza. Whew. So that is how you find the area of composite or compound shapes.